Today I have a video which I honestly thought I would never be able to make, but I got something from Sony. It's really big, it's really expensive, and I'm happy that I'm able to make a review for you for the Sony 600mm f4 lens, and if it is worth spending about 12,000 euros more than my own 200-600. So first of all, to make it clear, I don't own this lens. This is my camera, but this is not my lens. Sony was kind enough to send me this and another lens for 4 days to be exact, to test out this bad boy. So I spent the last 2 days going around with the 600, taking photo after photo. Sony also sent me the brand new 300mm lens, which I'm also going to review in a video a little bit later. But today the topic is the 600 and my experiences with the 600, how it felt using a 600mm and so on. First of all, of the review, I want to talk about the size and the weight of the 600mm, because getting a 600 in your hands for the first time is kind of overwhelming, even if you watched a lot of videos like I did. I watched a lot of videos about this lens because I was really interested in it. Even though watching all these videos, seeing people shoot with the lens, getting it into your own hands for the first time is crazy, because the size is much bigger than it looked on the videos. Even though this lens being this big, it's not really that heavy at all. We're talking about 3 kilograms, so 3040 grams. So we about half a kilogram heavier than the 200-600, and I used the 200-600 for the last year now really consistently, and so swapping to the 600 prime was not really that much of a difference for me, and so I really got used to the weight really fast. And even though I carried it around a whole day without a strap, anything, just carrying the lens around like this and shooting with it like this, so I grab it on the tripod foot and the other hand on my camera and shooting like this. It was really possible these days, and it was also fine carrying it around like this. The only thing you need to get used to is the length. I most of the times shot outside of a car, and with the 600 it was a little bit easier having the camera right here, and then if you want to shoot out of the window, you just lean out or lean to this side and get the shots. But this lens is about double in length, so if I put down both of these here, we have about this much more length, and the diameter is also doubled. So these are some facts you need to get used to, but otherwise weight wise it's not really that much of a difference, and you are really getting used to the 600 really fast, because it's really comfortable also to carry around. Next thing I want to talk about is the design of the lens itself. So we have a normal Sony white lens, G Master logo, some cool orange goldy strip on front, and we have focus wheel, which is kind of big. We have also 4 buttons which can be programmed to do whatever you want. And then on the other side we have a few more buttons which are kind of the same buttons like on the 200-600, just a few more options. So we have something like optical image stabilization, we have the different modes of focal ranges and other modes you can set up. Honestly, I didn't change anything like this. I took most of the settings from my 200-600, adapted it right here. You also have something like preset function. I don't know, I have this turned off. I think you can load in some presets or some, don't ask me, I have no idea. But one thing that also is new, which I can show you, where I have to take off the camera really quickly, is this right here. You have a drop-in filter spot right here, so you turn this. Obviously you can't screw on filters on the front, and you have a 40.5 diameter filter drop in right here, where you can put in, for example, an ND filter or any kind of filter you want. Honestly, I don't use filters that often because, in my opinion, Sony is producing good glass. Why put crappier glass on such high quality glass like this? So I'm not much of a filter guy, but if you want to do that, the option is here and you can put in some filters for this lens. Also, one thing which is really common on lenses with tripod foots, you have the wheel right here to unscrew it and turn the tripod foot in every direction. The tripod foot you would be able to take it off, but it is locked with 4 screws and also one button right here to keep it secure. I never took it off because the tripod foot on this lens is different than on the 200-600 and the 70-200. It is pelted with leather in front here, and it's really comfortable to hold it because it's, first of all, really big and it has a really nice grip to it. So I would not change this lens for something like this, because on my 200-600 I changed it out for an iShoot foot which has an Archospace plate mounted on the bottom. I would not do this here because the lens foot is really comfortable and nice, so keeping this on. So now let's get to the interesting part, the pictures I took with the 600 prime. I took out the lens for 2 whole days. First day I picked it up from the location where I met with Sony, got the lens, and still went out in the evening, photographed some animals, and yesterday I made a whole 1-day trip to a nearby lake, which is about a 2-hour drive from here, and I photographed some birds and wildlife right there. Mostly birds on the lake, and the problem is it's a national park and the birds are a few hundred meters away. Even though the birds were really small and they were a few hundred meters away, the pictures from this lens turned out really amazing, and I saw the difference between a 200-600 and the 600 prime, because on a few hundred meters distance, like 150-200 meters, you are seeing the 6.3 of the 600mm of the 200-600, sorry, struggle a little bit, and the pictures with the F4 were still crystal sharp from edge to edge. So you really had the upper hand with this lens right here. And one thing which was also kind of impressive yesterday was the weather conditions, because it was really cloudy and moody, so there was not really sun at all. It was rainy, and even though there was a lack of light, the lens performed really great, and you can also see a lot of details in the photos, which would probably have been a little bit harder with the 200-600. For example, one thing I wanna look at is this picture of this lapwing I took. The bird was, I would say, about 150 meters away from here, and even though it was so far away, the picture is still tech sharp and there was no loss of detail in any way. Or I wanna highlight another picture, which is this deer, which I took in late afternoon, also kind of moody and cloudy weather. We're also talking about, I think, about 100 meters. The picture is still very precise, very sharp, and you can see every hair on the deer. So in sunny weather conditions, on a really sunny day or with artificial light, the 200-600 and 600 prime, there is not really a difference, but especially in these moody weather conditions where you are lacking light, the 600 prime shines. And I think if you're willing to spend this amount of money, it should be able to take pictures in kinda any situation. So really nice lens. Doesn't matter what weather conditions you are in, the lens always produces really good images. But we also have to consider the fact that the 600 prime is about 9 times the price of the 200-600. And if you just consider the weather factor, in some situations, pictures from the 200-600 and the 600 prime look exactly the same and can only really see a difference if you have a really precise eye. What is my final verdict about this lens? Honestly, first of all, I think it was really clear that this lens is a really amazing lens, even though considering the price tag, it's not for everybody. Professional wildlife and sports photographers will probably buy this lens over 200-600, obviously, but for your average hobby photographer, wildlife photographer, I would stick to the 200-600 because it's price-wise just a better choice and you don't really see that much difference in the pictures because we are only talking about 2 f-stops. One thing I also want to make sure, I did not test any of these lenses with teleconverters yet, but I hope I can do so in the future because I think using a 2x and a 1.4x teleconverter on the 600 prime will give you way better results than on the 200-600 because we're talking about 8 f-stop difference than between the two lenses with a 2x teleconverter. Even though if you want to buy a wildlife lens and you say you have enough money for this one, why not go for it? For me, I'm going to stick to my 200-600 for now. We will see what happens in the future. Even though if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more of my content, then make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.